guys, so today's video is one hit wonders. We all love them, I think. By one hit wonders, I mean brands that relied on one product and then ran it into the ground because that's all they could think of. As harsh as that sounds, we have a lot of those brands. I actually had more of these products than I thought I would. A lot of brands fit into this mold. Some I'm going to speak about in more detail, some I'm going to speak about in less detail, because I just think some of them are more of a one-hit wonder than others. I feel like by one-hit wonder, I'm really broadening the sense here. For some, one-hit wonders is they've done nothing but this product. Some even, you know, had to quit being a makeup brand. But some are one-hit wonders in the sense that I don't really know anything about the brand but that thing, but they still seem to be doing financially okay, so they must be selling other stuff as well. So today's video is very kindly sponsored by Ownazan. You can click the link in the description and use code Angelika for 10% off and give me some commission. I've got more recommendations for spring, summer, that kind of a vibe. So we've got lipsticks. So I've actually got one cream, one velvet, and they're two very different shades, but I feel like they still both go in this season. We've got a nude, which is one of my favorite nudes. It's light peach. It's this wonderful shade. I think it's stunning. It looks incredible on the lips. This is the shade. I just think it's so good. And I think the same goes for this cream lipstick. This is a brown rose, and it's one of these shades. I don't really know how to describe it. I guess you could say it's a brown rose. They described it pretty well. So this is the shade. Then you can also rub this one out and do kind of like an ombre lip or just a little bit of a tint. As you can see, these are such stunning springtime shades. For blushes, I picked a shade that I haven't showed to you guys in a while, but I think it's super interesting. It's called Sweet Peach. It's from the Fruit Blusher collection, and it is a shade that I really, really enjoy. It's like a plummy mauvey pink. It's so stunning. I think it just looks like a beautiful flush. You can really amp it up as well. Like if I apply another layer, you guys can see, you can start to build it up, but it's such a neutral shade. I feel like it will just go with so many springtime looks. I also really have been enjoying the Alva 2 palette. This is the highlighter palette. So we got this blue, and these feel wet. Like, I love these highlights. If you don't dial it down, it's going to look beaming. But if you obviously apply it with like a less dense brush, it just looks so good on the skin. We also have this purple one. It's a lot smoother. So these have many different textures, which is what I love about these. So this one is obviously just like a hint of a shade, and it's just like that perfect purpley shade, but it's not as blinding. This one is the most perfect natural highlight. I love using this one. In the sunlight, you look like a goddess. So, you know, take it from me. Oh my God, look at this beautiful gold shade. Then we have the last one, which is the most interesting one. I use this as more of a topper highlight. What I'll do is I'll apply highlight, and then with my finger or a brush, I take a little bit of this on my hand. Look at this. Look how wet it is. This is very reminiscent of their new eyeshadow formula that I'm going to just show you guys in a minute. And you can just tap this on top of your highlight. It's got glitter particles in it. Look at it. And it will make your face look wet. So if you just like do one of these and then apply this right on the high points, or like I said, a very simple face of makeup, and then tap this on the highest points of your face, if you're in the sunlight, you're going to look like your cheek is wet. And then for the last thing, we have two eyeshadow palettes that I recommend for the springtime. This is from their newer collection. This is the one with just the shimmer shades. I think it's just a really simple look that you can do. I've been really enjoying just doing a shimmer all over the lid if I'm not doing much of a face. I just think it looks so stunning. And like I said, these are very reminiscent of that highlight. I think this formula is incredible. Look at it. It's just so stunning. The shades are beautiful. I think there's just something so incredible. This one shifts to yellow gold from blue. I just think there's like nothing like this formula. Then this is an orange and a pink. You can do them separately. I like to mix them together because I think they just look magical. Look at it. It shifts from pink to orange. It's basically a duochrome if you use it together. Then you get this stunning green. I just want you guys to experience this palette on your own. This green is a beautiful forest green. And then we get a blue, a more chunky, wet blue. And I just think this palette is stunning as like an accent palette. If you guys don't have these shades, look at this mermaid gorgeousness. And then we have the forest palette, which is from the previous collection. I think this one is stunning for springtime. Just so good. We have Shine, which is the most stunning turquoise. Look at it. It's a turquoise to gold. We get this brown. Look at that. It's the most perfect like camel brown, I'd say. Like that's the kind of shade I'd describe it as. Then we have Green and Breeze, which is a green to pink shift if you mix it together, which you will, because that's literally the superior way to use these. Look at that. It's a pink to green. Incredible. We also have the Spirit Forest, which is like a yellow gold / green, almost a chartreuse shade-ish. And then the last one is Mint, which is, do you guys see this? Oh, you know you do. It's just a mint shade that you can use alongside this one. It's just such a good shade. And I think these are my picks for the spring / summertime. So thank you to Odin's for sponsoring today's video. If you guys want 10% off your new favorite makeup and I'll get 10% commission, click the link in the description. I'll use code Angelika for 10% off. And thank you to Odin's for sponsoring. Let's get back into the video. So today's video is one hit wonders, like I said. Before we get into the video as well, we've been doing this thing where I film a video, I tell you what the topic is, and you give me your suggestions in the comment section down below, and then I do a follow-up video where I basically read you out your suggestions for the video. I did this with the ugly packaging, well, the worst packaging. I'll do a part 2 of that very soon, don't you worry. And I did this with the unpopular makeup opinions. You guys give me so many unpopular opinions, I could do a 10-part series. If you want it, let me know. So for this one, let me know what your one-hit wonders are. Like, what do you think made the brand and then failed the brand? I'll give you some examples and then you can build off that in the comment section, have a little discussion. Tarte, Shape Tape. Right, am I right? I'm right. Shape Tape was the rise and the demise of Tarte. So they had the concealer, that was like their main selling point for a solid 3 years. Every beauty guru, every person was obsessed with that concealer for whatever reason, because it wasn't even that good. Looking back on it, it was cakey, it was a mess. It made me look like a cake face. You couldn't make it any more natural. Like, you could only do a full face of makeup with it. Realistically, you couldn't really do a natural face of makeup. And then everyone realized it and everyone was like, oh my god, Shape Tape is so bad. And then everyone just stopped buying it. But in the meantime, they also released the Shape Tape foundation, and that's where the demise of Tarte began, because they came out with the most abysmal shade range, and the foundation itself was the most disgusting foundation that I ever applied to my face. I put it on once and I never put it on again, and I feel like that was the demise of Tarte. And since then, we haven't really heard about them. Kylie Cosmetics. Kylie Cosmetics is going through a bit of a lawsuit right now, as well as a rebrand, so nothing's on the website anymore. I was wondering, I told you guys that whenever I use Kylie Cosmetics, I want to link it in the description, and I can't because there's literally nothing on the website. They had like 5 lip glosses, 5 lipsticks, and nothing else. And that's because they were trying to sell out from everything that they have and then rebrand. So the website's actually closed right now, and then you can sign up like for your email to find out when they open back up, and I wonder what they're gonna do. But we all know what the one hit wonder was. It was the Kylie Lip Kits. Once everyone got over the liquid lipstick hype, no one really wanted to buy Kylie Cosmetics anymore because there was nothing else that was like super interesting. I think some of her products are actually genuinely quite good, but I feel like everyone was just hyper obsessed with the liquid lipsticks, and then once that craze was over, everyone was just like, oh, we don't want anything anymore. I think the high glosses are good. I think the face powders are really good. I think eyeshadows are mediocre, and I think the liquid lipsticks are really bad because I just don't like liquid lipsticks anymore. I think the lip liners are really nice, but Colourpop makes the exact same thing for much less. Concealer's really nice, and that's, I think, all I tried. Oh, the eye glitters, like the eye glazes are really good, but I don't actually know if they're going to come back with any of this stuff or if the rebrand's just going to be a completely different thing. I have no idea. I'll let you know when that happens. But yeah, I think once the liquid lipsticks were out, Kylie Cosmetics was also out. The Balm. I think their one hit wonder was the Mary Luminizer, and after that I did not hear a single beauty guru talk about them. The Mary Luminizer was absolutely stunning from what I remember. It was my favorite highlight. It made me feel like a goddess. It was incredible. But since then we've come out, you know, we've come very far with highlighters. I feel like Mary Luminizer was one of the first like blinding, amazing golden highlights. And since then we've come out with so many, like Becca has come out with highlights, and so many brands have released their own versions of the Mary Luminizer. That at this point it's like, is the formula that good that we have to keep on buying it? Or were we just buying it because that was the only option we had? Since then I feel like I haven't heard of them releasing anything good. I know people do enjoy their blushes, bronzers. They used to come out with eyeshadow palettes, but I haven't heard anyone review anything, and I haven't seen a release anywhere. Like, if you go through Trendmood, is the Balm there anywhere? I don't see it. So they must just be sticking to what they know best. But yeah, I feel like that was the one hit wonder for them. And after that, I don't know what they were doing. I'm gonna be honest with you. Lorac. Say it with me. The Pro Palettes. Yes, they did rebrand them because that was literally the only thing they have. Like, if a brand has to rebrand a product, that means they have nothing else to offer us. They had the Lorac Pro Palettes. Everyone was buying them. They had a very similar formula to ABH, which was that like powdery kick up, like you're applying a lot to your eyes, which means you could hit pan on them very quickly. The same kind of format of like the little square pans as ABH. And then I feel like ABH took over because they had much more interesting palettes, much more color. I feel like Lorac, all of the palettes look the same to me. And then half of the shades are like some variation of cream. Whereas ABH ABH really came out with like, you know, the soft glam, they didn't really have many repetitive shades. Soft glam was like browns and deeper burgundies. You had the Norvina with the purples and the pinks. You had a bunch of palettes. I just feel like ABH took over Lorac's market because they seemed very much similar to me, similar markets. And since then, I haven't seen Lorac release anything interesting. And then they rebranded recently to release new Lorac Pro Palettes, and they're just as boring as the last ones. So like, definitely that was a one-hit wonder for them. They can't come up with anything else. So they're just sticking to the pro thing and they're trying to sell it. I mean, I think on Beauty Bay, one of the palettes sold out, which is a good sign. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing sign. But I just feel like if a brand, after many, many years, has to come out with the same product again, it means that they don't have any other ideas, which is just not a great thing. I wish Lorac just did other stuff. Like, Lorac could be the new, like, Viseart, just a little bit cheaper, where it's like professional makeup for the regular consumer. You can feel super like professional when you use it. The whole pro line could have been like complexion and face, and instead we got the same like bronzy neutral eyeshadow palette, and that was it. That's all they gave us. I tried the mascara, the Lorac Pro Mascara. Can't remember what it was called. It had like this really fancy wand, and it was the worst mascara I've ever tried. Worst. Hands down, the worst. It made me look like I had 5 eyelashes all together, but they were just super skinny. So I just stopped using it after that one try. Anyway, I'm not very fond of Lorac right now. Like, I tried one thing and I hated it, so I'm just kind of like, ugh. Ofra highlighters. Rodeo Drive, mainly. Whenever I hear people talking about Ofra, it's Rodeo Drive. When I hear people talking about Ofra, I also think Nikki Tutorials. But we all know what happens when you rely on one influencer to get you through the day. Becca and Jaclyn Hill. I'll get to you, Becca, don't worry. Rodeo Drive. That's all I know. I know they do a lot of collabs with smaller influencers now. I know they did one with Samantha March. They did one with Jen Loves Reviews. They did a couple recently. So I think they're hitting the like indie market spot where they're doing, instead of big influencers, they're doing smaller influencers, because I find maybe they're learning from indie brands where if you target a few smaller influencers, you can actually make more of a profit than with big influencers, because big influencers demand more and they might not mention your products as much as a smaller influencer that you're giving a chance to. So I feel like they're definitely trying to hit an indie market right now, which is a good thing for them. However, I feel like they really do have to switch up the packaging. It is so bulky. I love the formula of the highlight, blush and bronzer that I have, but the amount of times I've wanted to throw it away purely because of the packaging, I think I'm going to depot them and put them into a magnetic palette that I have. Hold on. I think I just did something in my brain here while I was filming this video. I have like half of a magnetic palette empty because I have a few Benefit blushes in there from like 5 years ago. They are probably expired, but they still look really nice and they work really well. So, you know, who cares? And then I have the Balm highlighters. I have the Cindy Lou and the Betty Lou. So I might actually depot the Ofra stuff I have and put them into the magnetic palette. I think we just did something here. I just hate the packaging. I think it's big, it's awful, it's bulky, it doesn't fit anywhere. However, formulas are really good, but they do have this like tendency of being a one-hit wonder where into every single face palette they put Rodeo Drive. Every single palette has the Rodeo Drive. Can we just do something else? Work on the eyeshadow formula, work on the packaging, and not become a one-hit wonder company, because that's what's happening here. They're becoming the Rodeo Drive company. I just want something else from them. Lime Crime, liquid lipsticks, and Controversy. That was their one-hit wonder. Controversy. Was that a little bit harsh? I feel like that was a tiny bit harsh. Let me know. Lime Crime hasn't come out with anything good in a decade. I'm joking, it definitely wasn't a decade, but like at least 5 years. They're releasing like, they'll have like a 2-month-long break and then come out with like a lip scrub. I just don't understand the brand as a whole, because their one-hit wonder was the liquid lipsticks, and after that it just went downhill. So they really need to figure that one out. Dose of Colors liquid lipsticks. I know nothing about Dose of Colors except for liquid lipsticks, which apparently are really good, but like not many people are buying liquid lipsticks anymore. I feel like so many more people are going for the dewy, the lip gloss, the something. So if your main one-hit wonder and your main selling product is a liquid lipstick, then that's not really a good sign. Smashbox Primers, right? Yes. So Smashbox came out with a range of primers before primers were really a thing. They had primer for any little thing that you wanted to change on your face. One mattifying, one dewy, one long wearing, you know, just a bunch of different primers. People are obsessed with them until people realize that you don't actually need a primer a lot of the time. Primer is something very optional, and sometimes it can actually ruin your makeup instead of fixing it. To have a primer as a one-hit wonder is very difficult. I think since then they haven't come out with anything that was super interesting. I think their brushes are really good. I remember Tati talking about their brushes a lot. The eyeshadow palettes were apparently really lackluster, and a lot of other makeup was also really lackluster. So all they still have is the primers. I don't see them coming out with anything interesting recently. So, you know, Cover FX, anything in drops was their thing. Liquid drops, glitter drops, something to deepen, something to lighten with. It was all in drops. Other than that, tell me what Cover FX has released that's really good. They did the blush duos and bronzer duos, which to me were not a good formula at all. Super overhyped. I was so excited to try them because everyone was hyping them up, and I was like, this is the most awful formula I've ever tried. It like stuck to one place and then didn't move. And then I gave it to my mum. She tried it. She also said it was awful. So that's your 2-part review on the blush and bronzer duos. We've now given them to someone else, so maybe she'll let me know if she likes them, and then I can give you a 3-part review. Yeah, drops were their thing, and then everyone realized that using liquid highlights is just, you know, kind of consuming, like time consuming, mainly because I feel like when you think of cream/liquid highlights, you think natural makeup, so like very easy to apply, not very pigmented, blinding. And then when you think of blinding highlights, you think of powder highlights. They did like liquid blinding highlights, which were really difficult to use because if you're wearing a full face of matte makeup, then applying liquid highlight has to be either like under powder or over powder, and it just got really problematic. So I feel like people just gave up on using the liquid highlights. Because realistically, if you're doing a natural face of makeup without any powder, a blinding highlight doesn't really look that good. And then if you're doing a full face of matte makeup, if you apply it over top, it's going to move your foundation around. If you apply it on top of your matte foundation, it can also move your makeup around. So I just feel like it was a very difficult product to use. And I feel like many people just gave up on it. So they don't really buy anymore, and I don't hear anything about Cover FX. I don't actually know the last time they released something. I'm going to be honest with you. So I don't actually know what they're making their money on right now. Makeup Geek. Single eyeshadows, and this is the same thing as Lorac, where they rebranded into the same thing. So they had single eyeshadows. Those single eyeshadows stopped being popular because people just preferred pre-made palettes, and then after many years they rebranded into single eyeshadows again, just a different shape of pan. And I just think if it didn't work back then, don't try to rebrand into it now, because I just think that's so risky, and it really didn't work. I saw a handful of influencers buying those single eyeshadows, and then all of them said that they're quite overpriced, because if you're trying to create a whole palette with single eyeshadows, it's going to get really expensive. Like, let's say each of the pans is $10. To get 10 eyeshadows, you need to spend $100. Like, that's a lot of eyeshadow. That's a lot of money for eyeshadows. And many people said the formula was fine, but it wasn't like worth the money. I stopped hearing people talk about it now, so I guess the rebrand really didn't go that well, and I can understand why, because it didn't work well 5 years ago, so it's not really going to work well now. I feel like now more than ever we're into like curated smaller palettes rather than single eyeshadows in big palettes. Becca highlights. They relied, well actually, okay, so their one-hit wonder was highlighters, but that all started because of their other one-hit wonder, Jaclyn Hill. Jaclyn Hill came in with Champagne Pop. She said, here's your idea, sell it. And they did Champagne Pop, Prosecco Pop, something pop. Then they did multiple different highlights. Their highlights are really, really good. But like I mentioned in my Downfall of Becca video, highlights go on like this segment on your face, sometimes a little bit here, here, and here. You don't go through highlights very often. I don't remember the last time I've hit pan on a highlight, let alone use one up. So if your whole thing is relying on selling highlights, you're not going to make that much money. Influencers buy a lot of highlights, sure, but influencers, like, how many beauty gurus are there realistically to buy your stuff? And the regular consumer does not need 5,000 different highlights, because they're just going to stick to 1 or 2 shades that work for them and pan those. So if you're relying on that kind of a product to make you money, you're bound to fail, and that's exactly what happened. So yeah, I just think their one-hit wonder really was just the downfall of their whole brand. NARS is still around, don't get me wrong, they're making a lot of money, but I feel like their one-hit wonder is Orgasm, and they're going to run that thing into the ground. They do an Orgasm eyeshadow palette every like month, it seems. They rebrand the Orgasm blush like every other month. It's starting to get a little bit tiring, but like, I get it. It works. It's a wonderful shade. Everyone loves it. So they're just going to keep on adding to it, right? Because everyone knows the name, and when they see it, they're like, oh, that seems nice. Let me just buy it. But yeah, I'm just scared they're going to run that idea into the ground if they haven't already. Stila Eye Glitters. Tati said these eye glitters are really good. Everyone started buying them. Stila got really excited. And since then, they haven't come out with anything good. Their eyeshadow palettes that they come out with recently are so bland, so boring. And considering the like amazing shades that they came out with in the eye glitters, I'm surprised that they're making such bland eyeshadow palettes. Like where is that color range coming from? I'm so confused. Anyway, that's the ideas that I had for my one-hit wonders. Let me know your one-hit wonders in the comment section down below, and I might do a follow-up video with all of your one-hit wonders. How many times am I going to say one-hit wonder? Probably a lot. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell, like, comment for engagement, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye guys.